It was a seemingly ordinary afternoon in one of the most luxurious boutique stores in the city. The kind of place where elegance radiates from every corner, gleaming marble floors, pristine glass displays, and a faint scent of high-end fragrances in the air. Every inch of the store screamed exclusivity, the kind that made it clear, this was a place for the elite. Among the meticulously organized displays stood a young girl. She was no older than 16, her graceful posture and quiet confidence standing out against the backdrop of the busy store. She wore a crisp white blouse tucked neatly into tailored black slacks and simple flats. Despite her composed appearance, there was something in her eyes, a quiet strength, perhaps, or maybe a flicker of unease. She wasn't alone, not entirely. Across the store, a middle-aged woman in a sharp white blazer watched her with piercing eyes. The woman's lips were pressed into a thin line, her gaze cold and judgmental. To her, the girl's presence didn't belong in this space. This wasn't just about fashion or money, no, this was something much deeper and uglier. Without hesitation, the woman began striding across the room, her heels echoing loudly against the polished floor. Her expression made it clear, she was on a mission. "Excuse me," she called out, her voice cutting through the hum of soft music and murmured conversations. The girl turned to face her, startled by the abruptness of the approach. "Yes," she replied, her tone polite but cautious. The woman looked her up and down with a critical eye. "What exactly are you doing here?" she asked, crossing her arms. Her voice carried a condescending edge, as though the girl's very existence in the store was offensive to her. The girl blinked, confused by the question. "I'm just looking at the handbags," she said simply, gesturing to the display in front of her. The woman let out a short, sharp laugh, cold and devoid of humor. "Looking at these handbags," she said, her tone dripping with disbelief. "Do you have any idea how much these cost? You can't seriously think you're going to buy one." The girl's expression faltered for a moment, a flicker of pain crossing her face. But she quickly recovered, her voice steady as she said, "I wasn't aware that I needed your permission to be here." The woman's jaw tightened, her irritation growing. "Listen," she said, her voice low and threatening. "This store caters to a certain type of clientele. People who can afford to be here. Your presence is disruptive. I suggest you leave before I have to involve the staff." Nearby, a young sales associate had noticed the interaction and approached cautiously. She was clearly nervous, her hands clasped tightly in front of her. "Ma'am, is everything all right?" she asked, addressing the older woman. "No, it's not," the woman snapped, pointing an accusatory finger at the girl. "This young lady doesn't belong here. I demand you ask her to leave immediately." The sales associate's eyes darted to the girl, who stood silently, her fists clenched at her sides. She seemed unsure of how to handle the situation, her face flushing with embarrassment. Around them, other shoppers were beginning to notice the commotion, their curious gazes adding to the tension in the room. Then, the door to the boutique opened with a soft chime, and in walked a man who immediately commanded attention. He was tall and broad-shouldered, dressed in an impeccably tailored navy blue suit that radiated authority and sophistication. His presence was magnetic, and it was clear he wasn't just another shopper. The girl's face lit up the moment she saw him. "Dad," she called out, her voice filled with relief and happiness. The man's expression softened as he made his way toward her. "What's going on here?" he asked, his deep voice calm but firm. The woman in white looked between the man and the girl, her brows furrowing in confusion. "Wait, this is your father?" she asked incredulously. "Yes," the man replied, placing a protective hand on his daughter's shoulder. "I'm her father. Is there a problem here?" The woman scoffed, though her confidence wavered slightly under his intense gaze. "Well, I don't care who you are," she said, her voice shaking just enough to betray her discomfort. "Your daughter doesn't belong in a store like this. People like her don't." A heavy silence fell over the room. Everyone within earshot froze, their eyes wide with shock at the audacity of her words. The man stepped closer to the woman, his expression unchanging. "Let me introduce myself," he said, his voice steady and deliberate. "My name is Jonathan Pierce. I'm the CEO of the company that owns this store." The woman's face went pale, her confident demeanor crumbling in an instant. She opened her mouth to speak, but no words came out. Jonathan continued, "Not only is this my store, but my daughter has every right to be here. In fact, she has more of a right to be here than you do." The woman stammered, her voice barely above a whisper. I didn't realize." "No, you didn't," Jonathan interrupted, his voice firm. "And I think it's time for you to leave. This company has zero tolerance for discrimination, and that includes in its stores." The woman looked around, her eyes darting to the other shoppers who were now openly staring. Realizing she had no way to save face, she grabbed her designer handbag and stormed out of the store, her heels clicking loudly as she left. Jonathan turned to his daughter, his expression softening. "Are you all right?" he asked gently. She nodded, though her voice wavered slightly as she replied, "I'm fine, Dad. Thank you." As they walked out together, the store employees and customers watched in stunned silence. Some even began to applaud quietly, their admiration for Jonathan's actions evident. This story is a powerful reminder of the importance of standing up against prejudice and discrimination. It's a call to action for all of us to be brave in the face of injustice and to support those who need it most. If this story moved you, please take a moment to support our channel by liking this video and subscribing. Your engagement allows us to continue bringing you stories that matter. And if you'd like to do even more, consider contributing to our channel through the donation link in the description below. Every dollar helps us create more content that inspires, educates, and challenges prejudice. Together, we can make a difference. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next story.